Montblanc or Montblanc released 4 new fragrances in 2024 in a collection called Collection. It is Extreme Leather, Patchouli Ink, and Vetiver Glacier, and also Black Meisterstück. The fragrances in this collection are supposed to be a step up from previous releases from Montblanc. Let's take a look at what Montblanc created with this new collection and see if they stepped it up. When I first saw this new collection in the stores, I was completely intrigued. I spent a few minutes taking the fragrances and kind of just, spraying them and seeing what they smell like on my skin. The first one that I bought is Black Meisterstück, this one right here. It's a unique smoky amber with a little bit of a woody backbone, really quite beautiful. If you are interested in a full review of this one, I did it by itself because it was my first one, then I will link it for you in the comments and up here or at the end of the video. You can check this one out when you feel like it. After wearing this smoky dark Meisterstück for a few days and reviewing it, I really wanted the 3 others from the collection. I did buy them online and it saved me a little bit of money. Each one of these runs around 140 bucks US and I think I got them online for less than 100. So it's a better deal online. The first one that I wore after Black Meisterstück from the 3 new ones is going to be Vetiver Glacier. All the fragrances come in the same sort of bottle in the entire collection. All of these right here are 125 milliliters or 4.2 ounces, and that's about 25% or 25 milliliter more per bottle than some of the other ones. Now, I don't actually mind the bigger bottle at all. That's unless, of course, if you are traveling on a public plane. Then you will have to check this one because it's 125 and they only allow you 100. So the TSA will take this one from you, so make sure to check it, or at least it has to be in a duty-free sealed bag. I did have to late check a fragrance one time, and that little mishap cost me $75 US. So at that point, buying a fragrance for 100 bucks or 140 bucks, paying an extra 75 bucks would be hardly worth it at that point. For me personally, I do not mind the bigger bottle. And as we'll see later, these ones right here, a lot comes out when you spray it. But why don't we go ahead and give this one a spray right now? That way you can see it. It's really a super wet fragrance. Vetiver Glacier. Look at this. And by the way, they do not have magnetic caps, so you got to push it down like that. Online, all we're going to have is 3 notes. That's very popular lately. In this one, the notes are going to be vetiver, juniper, and sandalwood. Usually when I spray a fragrance for the first time, what I do is I like to spray, of course, on the strip, but I also like to put a spray inside the cap. This helps me to kind of give it a quick reference later what the dry down is like and to see if that's something that I want to wear for any given day. As a side note though, I don't really recommend it. This may potentially compromise the sprayer since it is plastic. And I do have some other ones where the silver on these things right here is sort of peeling off. Thankfully, that's only on the cheaper fragrances. So I don't recommend you do that. But for me, I like doing it. It's a great reference point for me in the morning to see if that's something I want to wear. Anyhow, so I sprayed it into the cap and I smelled it. I did get a sense of a little bit of a plastic nuance.
What does that smell?
It's gotta be the cap. Since it has a little bit of a plasticky smell and, the cap is brand new, it is plastic. And so perhaps, I thought maybe it's something to do with like off-gassing. Somewhat perplexed, I took a piece of paper, and I spread it on the paper. And wouldn't you know it? Dang. This plastic aroma is still there. Now it's not as strong as it is in the cap, but it is still sort of there. The plasticky smell lingers for a little bit. It isn't bad, but it is definitely noticeable. Thank God it doesn't stay too long. I also thought it would be interesting if this plasticky note was in patchouli ink, since it has, the name ink on it. But as we learn later, it does not have the same sort of smell. While there are only 3 notes to go on in this one, the fragrance starts with a little bit of sandalwood and a balsamic juniper with hints of vetiver, and of course also the slight plasticky nuance. It is a quite fresh fragrance with a comfortable sort of depth. The balsamic juniper in here is not too strong or piney. Instead, it's sort of a soft accompaniment of the sandalwood and vetiver. And all the comparisons online with Lalique Encre Noir and, Geisha Schön's, actually, Lalique Encre Noir is the same perfumer as Vetiver Glacier, Nathalie Larson. Also, the comparisons to Molecule 03 from Geisha Schön, they're all sort of a little bit validated because it is a vetiver fragrance, and as this one dries down, Vetiver Glacier, as it dries down, you're going to have a little bit more of this sort of deeper, darker, more earthy vetiver coming out after you wear it for a little bit. So I definitely see the comparisons to both of these, and after all, same perfumer on this one and that one. Yeah, they smell somewhat alike. Not exactly, but you can definitely tell that it is a Nathalie Larson vetiver fragrance. So I would say Vetiver Glacier, to sum it up, is a lighter, more ethereal vetiver with some bright spice at the beginning, and later towards the dry down it becomes a little bit deeper with a touch of muskiness. It is a classy fragrance for a more polished look while remaining completely inoffensive, and I think it is a good vetiver fragrance if you want to wear one to the office. I do have to say, I sprayed this one a lot to get the sort of punch out of it that I wanted. I would have liked for it to be a little bit more powerful. And unfortunately, for all you guys out there who like it sweet, sorry, there is no honey, no caramel, and no candied fruit in this one. The following day, since I wore Vetiver Glacier on the first day when I bought all three at the same time when they came in, like one after another. Vetiver Glacier was my first day. On the second day, I got Extreme Leather. That's the one I thought I was going to wear for the second day. It does smell really, really beautiful right off the cap. Remember, I sprayed it in there. It smells really, really nice. By the way, all of these sprayers, on every single one of them, they are all super wet. Look at this. Lots comes out, and it's very powerful and really, really wet. Maybe that's why it's 125, because you're going to need quite a bit to get a little bit more of a scent bubble going. The perfumer of Extreme Leather is Juliet Karaguezoglu. I hope I did that right. I apologize if I didn't. An accomplished perfumer for brands like Rabanne, Memo Paris, and Armani, and some other ones. Once again, we only have 3 notes to go on. This time we're going to have leather, orris or orris root, and musk. That really sounds promising. And like I said, this one smells very nice from the cap. Right from the start, you can tell this is going to be a smooth leather fragrance, right as you smell it. Let's give it a spray too. I guess I should really have these out already. Here we go. We'll give it a spray on it. There's also going to be a little bit of earthiness in this fragrance, which is probably most likely coming from the orris root. The orris root also is going to lend it a slight sort of violet nuance. I like this one, and it does seem oddly familiar to me. Of course, a lot of leather fragrances smell alike. So I tested this one, against Ombre Leather, one of my favorites. I also tested it against Clive Christian's C, and of course, the raspberry favored La Yugawan from Rasazi. I found it closest to Ombre Leather if you take away the patchouli and jasmine and imagine some soft violet instead. So now, remember I said closest to it. It doesn't smell like it, and you gotta take away the patchouli and the jasmine and add a soft violet. But it has that sort of smoothness that you definitely get from Ombre Leather. It is going to smell nothing like Clive Christensen's fragrance, because this one is, like I said, it's like a cowboy's saddle. Very strong, thick, powerful leather fragrance. And of course, it doesn't smell like this one at all, since it doesn't have raspberry in it. So don't go out thinking this is a good alternative to Ombre Leather. It is not close at all. Ombre Leather is its own class. I mean, it's one of my favorite leather fragrances of all time. I'm not saying Montblanc isn't a good fragrance. It is, however, it runs in a completely different sort of course, and it's a softer fragrance altogether. Extreme Leather by Montblanc is a pretty linear fragrance, and the longevity and protection also is just kind of okay. I do like it. I think it is a, a friendly fragrance, perfect for when I want a leather fragrance that sits a little bit closer in and is on the brighter side of leather fragrances with some violet tones while also having a touch of warmth. I also think this is a good one for work or even for a first date. It is more on the quiet and shy side of leather. It's a good one. It's a good all-around fragrance for when you want to smell like the luxury of leather while staying clean, comfortable, and still approachable. As I was wearing, extreme leather, and I wore Vetiver Glacier and extreme leather, I thought to myself, I do hope that the Patchouli ink has a little bit of a bigger personality. Because so far, with the exception of Black Meisterstück, the other two have been a little bit on the softer side and didn't quite, last as long as I would have liked for them to. I guess I don't really mind getting noticed and having a fragrance that has a bigger personality. What are your thoughts on that? Do you like getting noticed, or is it better to keep it closer in? Let me know in the comments. Also, don't forget to hit the like and sub for more fragrance content. Remember, your fragrance journey begins with about 1 single scent, and I would love to have you on board. I was truly excited to wear Patchouli ink, since it felt like the last two you were a little bit more on the subtle side of fragrances. Here we go. It's actually a little bit darker than the other ones. The other one's on the lighter side. This one's a little bit darker. Same flacon, same bottle. The nose behind Patchouli ink is going to be Fabrice Pellegrin. The perfumer behind fragrances like Azzaro Wanted, Jean-Paul Gaultier's Scandal Absolu, also from 2024. I did a review of that one, and I'll link it in the banner up there somewhere, also in the description if you want to watch it. Don't write it off. It's a really nice one. Like I was saying, I was excited to wear this Patchouli ink. I do love patchouli, and I'm interested to see what this ink note will produce. On this one, we're going to have 4 notes listed. We're going to have bergamot, we're going to have ink, we're going to have the note of patchouli, and we're going to have some vanilla. From the notes, this one sounds very enticing. Patchouli ink gives me a manly, masculine vibe. Not necessarily the smell, but the big body of a fragrance. So what does it make me feel like when I first smelled it? And to me, it kind of reminded me of Bentley for Men Intense. This one right here. Now, it doesn't smell anything like that, okay? It doesn't smell like Bentley for Men Intense. But the big body that this one has, you need to kind of be ready for it with Patchouli ink. They don't smell alike. Don't get me for it. But the big body that this one has, Patchouli ink from Montblanc does as well. The ink note sits right on top, and then it is in the bottom, then it moves over here, then it moves over there. And you smell it, and you're like, I can smell it, and then it's kind of elusive. It's like in a different place every time you sniff it. And not quite as daring as I thought it was going to be. Also, I feel that it's a little bit on the metallic side of ink notes. And slightly mossy. This is not going to be a floral patchouli. Instead of it smells more like the Indian patchouli, earthy, slightly woody, and almost on the smoky side. The vanilla peeks through towards the dry down. I personally would have liked for the vanilla to be a little bit more on the sweeter side. It would have given it a little bit more of a warm, round sweetness. The vanilla note smells more like the vanilla that I get from, from a bottle from the store, the one that you buy to put into your baking goods and you take a whiff of it. It smells a little bit more like that to me. Once again, I think it is a good fragrance. If you guys are looking for some non-sweet fragrances, these Montblancs are great. This Montblanc right here is a woody patchouli. It's aromatic, it's earthy, with a metallic sort of ink note that is veiled in some, vanilla. Definitely on the masculine side and mature side with an, also average protection and performance, unfortunately. The protection is stronger at first, but it also tapers off quite a bit, quite quickly. So far, all of them are really wearable for most of the year. And for most occasions, I'm thinking. Except for, of course, Black Meisterstück. Don't forget to check this one out. This one is going to be the most unusual and unique out of the 4. is also my favorite, and it has the best performance. The price for a Collection 125 Montblanc isn't bad, especially if you get them online. I think it is a decent launch from Montblanc. They're all nice smelling, well priced, especially for 125 milliliter. And the fragrances, all four of them, are diverse enough from another to make it kind of exciting to go explore them. I am super excited to see how they're going to expand on this line. Like I said, for me, Meisterstück is going to be my favorite one. Have you tried any of these? Which one is your favorite? And if you haven't, are you going to try them? Or maybe not any at all? Let me know in the comments. Also, like I said, don't forget to sub and like for more fragrance content. Thanks for spending time with me, and I will talk to you.